Hey, welcome to Causeway Live. And decided to do another Q&A after the success of the last Causeway Live Q&A that I did on Dash and Splash maybe a few weeks ago. This time on the Wim Hof Method, ahead of the workshop that I've got coming up this Saturday, the 27th, at Blk Box Fitness in the Titanic Quarter of Belfast. So there's enough people out there that I can see scratching their head whenever they see the big purple ice bath that I'm sat in at the moment, wondering why would someone get into the ice bath. And I'm hoping to cover questions like that, what you can get out of the breath work, how consistent you have to be with it. And we're going to cover a lot of that stuff in a little video chat today, a little live video. And if you have any questions while you're watching, just throw them into the chat. I'll answer them, and we'll see how we get on with technology. But hopefully I'll be able to take any questions here throughout the live video and cover those. Hello, Summer, I can see you watching. So this Saturday, we're going to have the fundamentals covered of the Wim Hof Method. It's a Wim Hof Method fundamentals workshop, which means we'll be looking at the breathwork, mindset, and of course the cold aspects of the Wim Hof Method. I do other classes like a little 45 minutes breathwork class so that you can experience what that's like. But to really get the whole method that you can take away back home and integrate into your own life, I would highly recommend coming to one of the full workshops, so that not only do you get an experiential understanding of the method, but you can also get an understanding of the method as well, and get to know a bit of the science, because one of the best things about the Wim Hof Method is there's peer-reviewed science behind it. And on my journey to getting my own health back, I did a lot of things that there wasn't so much peer-reviewed science on, that it just went on a lot of anecdotal evidence. But the good thing about the Wim Hof Method is that it has both. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the studies that led it to become recognized by the scientific community as something that can reliably reduce inflammation in the body. Reason one why you might want to come along to the workshop and integrate something like that into your life. And it was certainly one of the reasons that I wanted to make it something part of my life as well. As someone who had suffered a chronic illness that was basically inflammation in the body, my immune system was attacking my own body, I felt like the Wim Hof Method might be a good thing that, you know, should my symptoms ever come back, that I would have then a tool to reduce the inflammation in my body. So very quickly though, changed from that prevention kind of mindset and maybe slightly negative thinking to optimization mindset whenever I noticed things like my cardiovascular fitness greatly improved. I was dealing with stress better, and who couldn't deal with stress a little bit better than that? That might actually be the main focus of what I'm going to talk about in the live video here today, because I think it's the thing that most people can relate to, and especially in this 21st century world that we're born into, bills, traffic, phones, stuff that you're watching now, hopefully good content coming through to you now, but a lot of negative content as well that really triggers that fight or flight response in the body. And why that's such an issue is that it triggers a system that's actually made to deal with the clues in the name, fighting or fleeing. So if you're going to be attacked by a bear, your body dumps all these chemicals into your system that enables you to run away, or if you're really brave or stupid, fight the bear. So you get this big dump of stress chemicals into the body, which in evolutionary terms is really helpful and got us up to the present day. But the society that we're born into now, we get the same response from bills, traffic, emails, all the same chemicals dumped into the body, but we don't have any outlet for them. And worse still, if you're constantly triggered into that fight or flight state, it's quite difficult to down-regulate from that. So basically get back into the rest and digest part of the nervous system. So making a switch from sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, to parasympathetic, rest and digest. And most people are very weak in their ability to do that. So that's where the Wim Hof Method comes in. Not only is it the breath work training that can teach you to do that, but also the cold. And what, interestingly, both are doing, using a different means and tricking your physiology in a different way, you're basically loading up a small acute stress into the body and then teaching your body to come out of that stress. So deal with the stressor, basically. And the point of it isn't to become really good at ice baths. You know, if I was sitting here filled up with ice and dealing with it really well, you know, what's that going to get me? A couple of more likes on Facebook or Instagram. It's not the main purpose of getting good at an ice bath. The main purpose of putting yourself under that training stimulus of the ice bath is that you deal with day-to-day stressors even better. So it's really just, you can think about it as doing a workout for your nervous system. And if you can teach your body to deal with coming out of a stressor like ice cold water, then whenever a day-to-day stress comes along, like the guy cuts in front of you in the car in traffic, or someone steals your spot in the parking lot, your body, you don't have to do a special breathing technique, or you don't have to do some special Wim Hof Method guru magic. You've done the training. You've taught your nervous system how to downregulate and come out of stress so that your body kind of takes over by itself. And if you're not applying a training stimulus like that to your life, so whether the breath work or the cold or a few other means of doing something similar, you can actually be very incompetent at being able to do that, stuck in chronic stress, and as a result, you know, be in that high inflammation state that it's well-reasoned speculation to say can lead to autoimmune disorders, which is basically inflammation run rampant in the body. And I can speak pretty well to that, having suffered from a condition like that. And it really relates to my personal journey as well. You know, from my late teens, I was on and off antidepressants and really withdrawn, tried to hide away from the world, was extremely shy, which might seem really weird for a guy who chooses out of his own volition to stand up in front of up to 80 people on a Sunday morning in his swimming trunks and shout at them to go in the sea. But believe it or not, I was, and still am in some ways, extremely shy. And I became really withdrawn. I let stressors get to me. I wasn't putting myself under any acute stress and learning to deal with it. And because of that, started to suffer with severe chronic stress. And that is only going to be a matter of time before that translates from a psychological issue into a physical issue. And there's a fantastic book about this topic called The Body Says No. I was really lucky recently to be witness of a lecture on that book by Catherine Wells. So Catherine had invited me up to teach her occupational therapy students the Wim Hof Method, which is exciting, getting the Wim Hof Method out into the world through the standard healthcare system. But before my lecture up at Ulster University, Catherine, the lecturer there, was teaching a little bit about The Body Says No, and was able to give some examples about how repression and chronic stress can lead to chronic illness, and was able to give an interesting case study at the end about a guy who was very overweight, suffering rheumatoid arthritis, overworking, very withdrawn, and then subsequently invite me out to give a lecture on the Wim Hof Method and reveal it was me all along. So that was good fun, and to trick the students if nothing else. And they were great as well. Just in reference to that, they are a great example of folks who mightn't have known anything about the Wim Hof Method. They were there maybe not of their own choice. You know, they knew that somebody was going to come in and teach them about breath work and a bit of cold training. It's not like they had paid to sign up to this course in particular. It was all organised by the university. But even folks who were coming to this not completely psyched probably and super excited about it, stayed open-minded, and they did the breathwork practice. We did some mindset training, and I took them all out into the sea in Jordanstown across the road from Ulster University, and they were amazing. So it goes to show you, even if you're sort of feeling that ahead of Saturday, an ice bath workshop, that, I'm not sure if I can do it, and I'm yet to have anyone who can't get in up to their shoulders, manage their breath, and that's all I'm going to want to see from you, really. And same story with the guys in the little Wim Hof workshop that I did up at Jordanstown, taking the students into the sea. You know, they were open-minded to it, but it's not something like they were like extremely enthusiastic about, like most of the people attending a Wim Hof workshop would be. And they got super into it and all managed to get into the freezing cold Irish Sea, catch their breath, managed to down-regulate from the stressor that the sea is on the body, and reap the health benefits of it, and hopefully, fingers crossed, integrate that into their lives. So continue with cold showers, sea swimming. One of the students of which came along to Dash and Splash in Bangor, which was super cool as well. So to see making an impact in the world, and hopefully whenever she goes out to become an occupational therapist, she'll be able to tell her patients that there's all these benefits to the cold water, to a simple breathwork practice, and something that you can find out for yourself this Saturday. So I highly encourage you to come along. You can discover the breathwork, which I will just touch on at this stage, because whenever people think about the Wim Hof Method, they're thinking about this thing, the ice bath, and probably getting all massively over concerned about it. People greatly underestimate the breath work. People come for the ice bath often and leave talking about the breath work. Wim Hof calls it getting high on your own supply, which I don't know if that's a good selling tool or not, but you definitely leave feeling with it's like an altered consciousness experience. And whilst the normal waking mode of consciousness and accessing the human thinking brain is really useful for day-to-day tasks like your day job and practical things, there's a lot of deeper work you can do by accessing a deeper part of the brain. And that's not just some mystical woo-woo deeper part of the brain, new agey thing. It is maybe part that, but also there's some good science to it. There's this theory to do with the brain and how it's developed in terms of our evolution. It's called the triune brain theory, that the brain was evolved in 3 different parts, and the oldest part, the reptilian brain, where your fight or flight response sort of goes straight back to. We've got the mammalian brain, the limbic brain, and beyond that, the newest part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, the human thinking brain, which I kind of talked about, you know, good for practical stuff, but also whenever it gets overactive, worries about what's for dinner later and, you know, paying that bill at the end of the month. So good to be able to shut that human thinking brain off from time to time, get back to the lizard brain, and the Wim Hof Method's an amazing way to do that. In part because the older parts of the brain actually have priority access. They got us there in the first place, so it should make sense that whenever they're called upon, they get priority. And a great way of engaging that reptilian fight or flight response is using a situation that tricks your body into thinking it is in a life or death situation. So an ice bath. And in some sense, I mean, if you stayed in an ice bath for way too long, it is going to become a life and death situation. Fortunately for you, on Saturday, you're only going to be in the ice bath for a couple of minutes max. And like I said, all I really want to see from you is to be able to go in, recognize and feel safe and okay with the fact that, okay, my breath's being taken away a little bit here. That's fine. I know that is a symptom of going into that deep sympathetic fight or flight state, but what are you going to do to manage it? You're going to slow down your breathing and you're going to take some slow, deep breaths. I'm going to have you coached well enough beforehand, good 3 hours of mindset and breathwork training. But I'm also going to be right there to the side of the ice bath to give you a bit of hand and just give you a reminder to slow down your breath. And generally with anywhere between 30 to 90 seconds, sometimes shorter for people, there's just this click, and it's so cool to watch that, you know, having taken so many people into the ice bath. You can see this moment where you can actually see the switch in the nervous system happen, shoulders drop, the tension leaves their face, and it's just an incredible thing to witness and an incredible thing to experience as well. So highly recommended. It is a very different experience to the mountain workshops, of which I have one coming up the following week. So if you want to experience the Wim Hof Method in nature, that's still doable. Not this Saturday, but the next. you can experience the cold in one of the Glen River rock pools, and we'll be doing a similar kind of workshop to this Saturday. We're going to still be covering the breath work in a studio beforehand. We're going to be doing some different mindset games and going out into the cold and experiencing that in the mountain stream. But this Saturday coming, it's all about the ice bath. And that's a very different, it's almost more of a psychological test. So if you want, even apart from all the physiological benefits, the psychological benefit of looking at those ice cubes sitting on top of the water, and I fill that thing up with ice cubes, to be fair, no half measures with me. And looking at that, allowing yourself to experience whatever fear is there for you, making the decision, mind over matter, silencing your initial urge to run away from the discomfort of it, step into the ice bath, witness what's happening within your system. So that fight or flight response kicks in, your breath speeds up, you know what's happening because we've talked about it beforehand. You get down to your shoulders as quickly as possible in a controlled way, because I have had people dive right into the ice bath, especially somebody who's just started watching there. I'm not going to name any names, but getting it up to your shoulders in a controlled way, and manage your breath, down regulate from the stress state, and it's amazing to see what you're capable of. And I think that people take away a lot from that. You know, if I can get into an ice bath and getting up to my shoulders in ice cubes, and not only that, like actually feel really good in that state and feel that clear-mindedness and focus, you just wonder what else is possible. And I've been fortunate enough to be teaching this stuff for a long enough time now that I've seen people go on off the back of these workshops, and in particular the longer retreats, and just realize that they're capable of so much more than they ever thought was possible in the first place, and go on to do endurance events whenever they had like other types of illnesses, and enter, you know, high level dance competitions that they hadn't even been dancing before it was before they came on the retreat and learned about the Wim Hof Method and experienced things where they pushed their comfort zone and realized they were capable of so much more. So that's a huge thing you can take away from this Saturday. If you've been thinking about it for a while, I haven't done one of these ice bath workshops in ages. This is the first one at Blk Box Fitness. So come along, it'll be good fun. You get to put yourself to the challenge psychologically. You get to take away tools that can improve your health and well-being physiologically as well. Like I said, big cardiovascular benefit, big benefit to training the nervous system to down-regulate from stress. Great for people who are unwell, but also great for high performers who need to find that more balanced state within their system to achieve optimal performance. So whether you're an athlete, whether you're someone who's unwell, I have lived at almost both of those ends of the spectrum. You know, I'm a reasonably fit and healthy young man now, and I was a very, very unwell younger man in my youth. So someone who is an example of living this stuff, and even down to the point of, I know a lot of people say to me, especially in the winter time, whenever I'm guiding people into the sea during dash and splash, I'll go in, before we even go into the water, I'll guide people to take some slower breaths. We'll walk out into the water, and I'm able to maintain my breath entering the water and speak and encourage people. It's a very common comment that I get, like, how the hell are you still speaking whenever you're like in this freezing Irish sea? And it's training, you know. Somebody in the last workshop said that they'd heard, I think they said they heard Wim explain it was like a cold muscle, that you're like developing your cold muscle. And the actual reality of that is, it's not so much a muscle, but it comes back to the nervous system again. You're basically developing strength in the vagus nerve, which is responsible from taking you from that sympathetic fight or flight state to parasympathetic rest and digest. Most people have a very weak vagal tone, and that's purely because they're in low level stress all the time. If you're not making the transition from stress state to rest state frequently, it becomes weak. And this is your opportunity to strengthen that, not just so that you can go in the sea and talk, even though that's good crack, not just so that you can go into an ice bath and have a smile and have the cool selfie. It's more so to do with dealing with stressors in your day-to-day life and is a legitimately life-changing thing, as I can attest to myself, and others can attest to that have been to the workshops, other instructors as well that have come along and enjoyed the big purple tub. So I think that might wrap it up. I didn't really go into very specific questions. I put out a little thing on my Instagram story earlier asking for specific questions. The thing I got mostly back was why would you do it? To recap for anyone who's just tuning in, train your nervous system, learn to down-regulate from stress. The breath works the same. Do it regularly over time, legitimately life-changing. I don't say that lightly. It feels like an American sales pitchy kind of thing to say, but you know, I'm living proof. And if you've been following the Causeway Living page, you know, for any amount of time, you know I don't bullshit you, and you know I don't use deviant language like that often, so that's how serious I am. And yeah, you can trust me that this thing will change your life if you apply it regularly over time. As much value as there is on the day in overcoming a big thing like the ice bath, there is much more benefit to applying it over time. So you'll take away those tools, hopefully connect with other like-minded people in the workshop that you can stay in touch with, and I will be encouraging everyone at the workshop to come down to Dash and Splash every Sunday down the road in Bangor to help them integrate what they learn on the day into their daily lives, because you know, if you surround yourself with like-minded people who are getting into the cold water all the time, you're far more likely to do the same yourself. And if you're doing that regularly, it's an encouragement to do the breathwork practice too, because again, if we're touching on different subjects with the Wim Hof Method here, the breathwork's actually really good training for also dealing with the cold better. Not that it's the point of that, but one really complements the other. Both things are doing the same thing. You're really both strengthening your vagal tone. So you use the breathwork practice, you find the cold easier, you use the cold as maybe a more intense training stimulus, and what's going to be tougher than getting into an ice bath? So give it a go this Saturday, Blk Box Fitness, 27th of April. Check the details on the Causeway Living events section of the Facebook page or on the website, just causewayliving.com. I think you can go to there directly through the menu, just Wim Hof Workshop. Dead easy to find, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. If there are any other questions, put them in the comments of this video. I'll try my best to get back to them. And yeah, look forward to sharing with all the good people that turn up this Saturday. And it has been a pleasure to share with you, tuning in, which has been cool. There's lots of different people tuning in who are obviously interested in the Wim Hof Method. So if you're sitting here watching this debating, oh, I don't know, should I go, should I not? Definitely make the decision to go, act on it. Yes, it's going to be awesome for you. You're going to get so many benefits to your day-to-day life, and it's just going to be a fun experience too. You know me, sure, I like to just have the crack and we'll have a laugh with it. Oh yeah, also we'll get a bit of the drum action going too on the day where we don't get to do that on the mountain workshops. So a bit of the Wim Hof Method horse stance, escalate that stress up, get the big warrior shout going, and yeah, anyone who's been to one of the workshops before, like, that's one of the big takeaways from the day. It's like a primal experience. You're using the breath, you're using the elements, we're using auditory tools like the drums. I also play the shamanic icaros, the songs sung by the shamans of the Peruvian Amazon, and yeah, it's part altering your conscious, part taking away tools that you can apply back to your life, and just having a good old time. So gonna wrap this up now. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching this live video, and I will speak to you all soon.